very sadly for Sudan, it's hard to see an end to this war without one of them losing it. And the problem is they are both incredibly well financed. They're both well resourced in terms of access to petrol and fuel, in terms of smuggling gold to make cash to buy weapons, in terms of having rich and powerful patrons in the Middle East and elsewhere around the world. It is incredibly tough, and as a result, it's hard to see a quick end to it.
You heard Borzou Daragahi saying how nations, when they look at Ukraine and Russia, staying on the sidelines to see who's got the momentum. It seems as though when it comes to Sudan, the so-called proxies right now are not going all in.
Everyone is, as you say, biding their time and seeing who might be the best horse to back. Everyone's got split priorities and take Russia, for example. They want to get access, to a port, very important for them. But at the same time, so that would suggest more official, more on the side of the army. But then at the same time, on the side of the RSF, there are links with the Wagner Group and a lot of the gold smuggling, which has been very useful for Russia in this time of sanctions. And so even a single outside force is split in how it supports Sudan.
And just to go the same way you are, Russia has been betting on both horses, so it is absolutely assured that it will get something out of this war, first. And secondly, Prigozhin, the head of the Wagner Group, last week, I believe, or no, on April 20th, has been proposing himself as a peacemaker instead of UN, because he was accusing UN of just wanted to shed more blood from Sudanese people, and he was claiming to be belonging to two military orders of Sudan, being just able to get in touch with both warlords and to bring everyone around one table and to get a peace deal.
Wherever there's gold, there seems to be Russians.
Gold, absolutely. Well, Wagner has been trading gold for influence and for support to some fighters. So gold is the main reason why Wagner is involved in the country, that's for sure.
Now, Sudan on paper may be a former Ottoman and British protectorate or colony, whatever you want to call it, but it is Egypt's backyard.
It is Egypt's backyard, but it's also the Gulf's backyard. And the Gulf countries, Saudi Arabia and the UAE, have had tremendous influence there. They're also they have been betting on horses. But look, and to be fair, the U.S. and the EU have a strong role in Sudan, having helped untangle the war and the separation between South Sudan and Sudan. But look, none of those international players wanted this war or want this war, and I would love to be corrected on that. This is not something that anyone, unlike other kinds of proxy wars, this is not that kind of thing. But the international community does have influence, and it does have responsibility. And its primary responsibility was the tragic mistake of betting on these thugs, to bring stability to this country instead of the opportunity that it had in 2019 to give power fully to a civilian government. It chose the wrong horse, the international community in general. And it's a pattern that happens in countries around the world, especially Africa and the Middle East.
So the calculus of the United States particularly was, look, they haven't gone away yet, the generals, so why don't you try to share power with them until we can find some kind of solution?
It was kind of like the path of least resistance. It would have been much harder to really step in and clear the generals out and say, no, civilians take over now, 2019. And you're absolutely right, that was the big betrayal, the big opportunity and the big betrayal. And we've seen similar things with the backing of Haftar in Libya, all over North Africa, Middle East, as you say. It is a shame. The EU even cooperated or hired Hemeti as someone who can help manage migration flows. So I think we all have to look in the mirror. Pretty.
I think the worst thing that was done was the Trump administration refusing to remove sanctions on Sudan as a state sponsor of terror, even though they had put the president who had, earned that designation for Sudan in jail until Sudan recognized Israel. And so for a year and a half, this country was basically, floating and unstable, people souring on democracy, people souring on the bad economy, while the Trump administration waited for some kind of political payback for removing that designation.
And President Biden, was it today, or I think today, also just said that he will actually be putting sanctions on Sudan. But as much as we can talk about the outside forces and the betrayals and the opportunities that were lost, if we take a step back, this remains, at least what I see since April 15th, when the war broke in a way in Khartoum, is the same old of two generals who do not want to let power go, and of a population that are actually more and more, despite all the populism in the world that is rising, that want to be more democratic and to no longer have these men in power for 20 years or 30 years. The thing is that I see only 3 scenarios possible, and none of them right now are options. The peacemaking, no. The longer it goes on, is it going to go on, the harder it is to break a deal. And the other thing is basically to let one of the generals win.